Good morning, Year 4, Group 1. This is your Monday maths lesson for Monday the 18th of January, if you missed the live lesson or if you need to hop back on to check the skills. To begin with, we're going to practice our 25 times table. Now, we don't do this often in class, so I've started you off. It'll be really useful later in this lesson. 1 times 25 is 25. 2 times 25 is 50. 3 times 25 is 75. 4 times 25 is 100. Now those first four are the really useful ones because they show you the pattern that the rest are going to count in. Then it kind of starts back from the beginning. 5 times 25 is 125. Your next one will be 150. Then 175, 200. So I've given you a really good head start there. Pause this video for 5 minutes and practice counting in 25s to see how that sequence repeats itself. Pause this video and then unpause when you're ready. So let's check in on our knowledge of how we can recall some facts. So what is half of 100? If we know that half of 10 is 5, we know that half of 100 is 50. And then, what is half of 50? Well, we've just used this knowledge on the last slide when we were counting in a particular number. Half of 50 is 25. So if we count in 25s, we go 0, 25, 50. So half of 50 is 25. So this week we are looking at statistics. Statistics means you are collecting information about something and presenting it, showing it. Now here I have got a very simple bar chart, and it is about people's favourite fruit. We can tell that because the title at the top says favourite fruit, and then we can see the little code is anything in blue is their favourite fruit, and we've only got one choice on this bar chart. Banana was the only choice people could choose from. So let's look at that scale at the bottom and let's see what it is counting in. So we've got 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Right, we are counting in hundreds. But if we have a look at that blue bar for the banana choice, it finishes between 400 and 500. I'd say it finishes exactly halfway between 400 and 500. So using our knowledge from just a moment ago, we know that half of 100 is 50. So halfway between 400 and 500 will be 450. So the answer to the question, how many people said their favourite fruit was a banana, is 450 people. So that's a very simple bar chart. It's only got one bar, one option. Let's look at a slightly more complicated one. So again, it's favourite fruit, but this time people had lots of different choices. They could have chosen peach, kiwi, mango, pineapple, orange, pear, banana or apple. Let's check that scale again. Is it still the same? Yes, it's still counting in 100s. 0, 100, 200, 300 and so on. Now, we need to look to see how many people said their favourite fruit was orange. So we find orange on our y-axis, we look at its blue bar, and we see where it finishes. It finishes halfway between 300 and 400. I'd say exactly halfway between. So using our knowledge that half of 100 is 50, we would say that halfway between 300 and 400 is 350. Well done. So, same bar chart, still looking at favourite fruit, the scale hasn't changed. But the question structure has slightly changed on this one. Now it already tells us that 100 people said something was their favourite fruit. But what was that fruit? The only fruit that exactly 100 people chose. Bit of a trick question here. And I might have slightly tricked you with how I just said that. There might be more than one fruit where exactly 100 people picked it. So we're looking at the length of those bars to see which one or ones finish at exactly 100 people. Can you spot them both? Well done. Peach and apple were the two fruits that finished at exactly 100, and only 100 people chose them. Second question on this slide, how many people said their favourite fruit was pineapple? We've got a new challenge here. Find the pineapple and have a look along. Now that blue bar for pineapple does not finish on 100 or 200 or exactly halfway between them. It looks a bit further than halfway to me. So I would say it's more than 150, but not as much as 200. It looks like it's 3/4 of the way between there. Now, my best guess for that one would be 175. If you said anywhere between 170 or 180, I would give you a tick for that. But I think 175 looks pretty spot on. So from this slide, we can see that sometimes we might have a tricky calculation to do to work out exactly how many people on that scale the bar has reached. And sometimes we might not be asked to give a number answer, but a word answer. So we needed to choose the word of the fruit that was the most, that 100 people liked. So read those questions really carefully to see if you're being asked to give a number answer or a word answer, and to see exactly where on the scale your bar ends. Right, a totally different bar chart here. Now, the main thing you will notice is now the bars go vertically upright instead of horizontally along the chart. But it's exactly the same. It's a bar chart that shows something. Now, along our x-axis at the bottom, we have got year groups, year 3, year 4, year 5 and year 6. And then up the y-axis we've got numbers going up, so that must be numbers of children in those year groups. And then for each year there are 3 different colour codes, and there's a clue on the right hand side of the chart that says anything in blue is chatting, anything in red is ball games, and anything in green is chase games. Now the missing title of this chart is most popular playtime activities in those year groups. Now you can see that the scale counts in 50s. We've got 0, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. Now this is where your 25 times table information will come in useful here. You can see that I've put a tiny little line between 0 and 50, and again between 50 and 100, and so on. Now that is going to show me where my halfway point is, where my 25 times table knowledge will come in useful. So I could actually write on my first little line 25. So then my scale would go 0, 25, 50. Then my next little line would show where 75 is. Then 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, and so on. Now, I know that's going to be useful for this chart because I've had a really good look at it. This is the chart you're going to be using for your independent activity, and I would suggest you add that little line on before you start, and those 25, 75 and 125 missing numbers. Right, our first question on here, a perfect one for you guys. How many year 4s chose chatting as their favourite activity? So first of all, we need to find the year 4 group, and we need to look at the blue line because blue line represents chatting. So we go up that blue line on year 4, and we need to see how many people that represents. So it's somewhere between 100 and 150. And I'd say it's exactly on that little line we've just added in, which makes it 125. 125 children in year 4 liked chatting. Sounds about right to me. So there are a few different things on this independent activity that you're going to have to be really careful of. Firstly, you've got to be careful that you are spotting when those bars don't quite reach the number that you've already got on your scale, which is why I suggest you add in those halfway points, the 25, 75, etc. You've also got to look to see whether the question is asking about chatting or ball games or chase games, and which year group it's asking you about. So there's going to be a few little things to make sure that your brains are working today. So hop on over to Seesaw. You will see a chart exactly like the one we've looked at, and you'll see 7 questions and a bit of a challenge question. So take your time on these, please. Remember, your adults at home should just be able to get you started, but they shouldn't need to give you too much help on this. But you do need to have your brain switched on. Look carefully at the questions and take your time. Have fun. Bye.